Muppets are taking over Rock and Roller Coaster starring Aerosmith in 2026. But the big question everybody wants to know is, will it be better? Hello everybody, welcome. Though the reception of the Muppets taking over Rock and Roller Coaster starring Aerosmith has been a little bit of a mixed bag, new details are emerging that are giving fans hope that this change might just be better after all. Rock and Roller Coaster starring Aerosmith at Disney's Hollywood Studios is one of the most iconic attractions in all of Walt Disney World. So replacing it with anything is gonna be a tall order, but Muppets might just pull it off. We now have an official name for the replacement of the Aerosmith attraction, and it is formally now called Rock and Roller Coaster starring the Muppets. And from what we understand, the story is all about G-Force Records. It is still going to be G-Force Records. It is staying G-Force Records, where the character J.P. Gross, who is Scooter's uncle, has essentially purchased G-Force Records. Now, J.P. Gross is also the real estate tycoon that owned the Muppets Theater where Muppet Vision was. And since we know that the Muppet Vision Theater is now going to be some sort of Monsters, Inc., I guess he decided to either lease that out or sell it and buy G-Force Records instead. So I guess he decided that there was more happening over at G-Force than there was at the Muppets Theater that he owned. And as part of this purchase, he decided to put Scooter, his nephew, in charge of G-Force. And this entire attraction and exterior are now going to reflect the fact that it is under new management and it is now in Muppets control. Right off the bat, that guitar is now going to be completely changed to be this very colorful rainbow. Very in line with what you would expect from the Muppets and Dr. Teeth. I actually think it's a really cool improvement on the guitar. I'm kind of excited to see it in real life, not just in the concept art. And then if you've ever paid attention, at the bottom of that guitar, there is a piano, sort of a bunch of piano keys there. And apparently they're going to replace one of those keys, make it a golden key, because that is essentially going to pay homage to Dr. Teeth himself, who is basically the leader of this Dr. Teeth band, and he has a golden tooth, so it is going to reflect that. Now, one of the things that I haven't heard a lot about is the ride vehicles itself, and essentially that car, that iconic Rock and Roller Coaster car vehicle. When you enter in under those arches there on your way to Rock and Roller Coaster, you see that iconic vehicle there hanging at the top, sort of upside down. I'm assuming they are going to be changing that vehicle, keeping it maybe the same structure, but repainting it. So I think that's going to be the first thing that you see when you go through those arches. You're going to see that ride vehicle in sort of a rainbow pattern colors that have been added to it, instead of it just being that sort of light blue color. If you notice in the concept art that they've given us for Dr. Teeth, for the Muppets, if you look at the ride vehicle itself, that Rock and Roller Coaster car, there's actually two different variations of it. One was an older concept art, and then they gave us a new one with all the signatures of people from the band. And the ride vehicle has slightly different sort of like colorful psychedelic patterns on the vehicle itself, which tells me one of two things. One, they haven't really landed on exactly what they're going to do with that car yet, but they're probably going to be changing it in some way, giving it a new paint job. Or two, there may be different variations. So each car that's on the track may have slightly different psychedelic paint jobs on it than the other cars. So there may be different variations, which I think can be really cool. The other big question is, will the ride vehicle itself change dramatically in any way? Will they be adding embellishments to it? Will they be changing any of it structurally or not? On the surface, I would say probably not, because more things you bolt on or add to it are going to change sort of the structure of the vehicle, and it's going to require a little bit more testing to make sure it's still sound. There is mention of some technical wizardry by Muppet Labs. If you're not familiar with Muppet Labs, they've been bringing that in more and more. You see it at the Epcot festivals over there in the Odyssey building. They have Muppet Labs for Food and Wine Festival. And they've been sort of bringing that concept in more and more, and it was in the Muppet Vision 3D, it's in a lot of the shows. So Muppets Lab is going to be essentially like pumping up this car, this ride vehicle, to help it get all the way across town and make it super fast. So basically they are going to be supercharging this limousine, which makes me wonder if that could just be a point to tell you why the vehicle is so fast, or maybe they're going to add some like visual things on it to make it look a little bit more fast and more Muppets-like. I don't know. Now, I'm also expecting a lot of changes to the interior of the attraction, the queue, and then obviously as you walk out before you get onto the ride, and of course the red carpet at the end. Very much expecting to see some Muppet Vision 3D props, things that were from Muppet Vision, probably making their way, maybe that stuff that was in the queue before the Muppet Vision show, probably making their way into the queue for this show. But the biggest change that we're seeing is in the pre-show. What's really interesting to me is that they've essentially reversed the pre-show from what it is today on Rock and Roller Coaster starring Aerosmith. The current Rock and Roller Coaster, when you walk in, the band room is sort of the real life props and things that you see right in front of you, where they would basically be doing the recording. And then the recordings, the sort of like the studio is behind it on the actual screen there, where the editors, the recording technicians, they would all be sitting there. That's basically the stuff there back on the screen. In the new Muppets version, it's the reverse. So the studio where you're actually sitting and playing the music and playing the instruments and singing is the thing that's on the screen. And then the thing in front of you is the actual studio part where the, sound engineers and everybody are sitting. It's now reversed. So because they've now reversed it and the band will be on the screen itself, in the front here we have a couple of penguin animatronics that are basically the sound engineers. It looks like we also are getting a full animatronic of Skooter himself. Essentially, the storyline here is that Electric Mayhem is due to be at their biggest concert ever, but for whatever reason, they haven't left yet because they just can't get themselves out of the studio because they're on a hot streak and they're recording and they're making this new songs and they're just having a blast and they're like, we're doing this thing here, we don't want to go to this concert, or maybe they just haven't remembered that they need to be at the concert, and so they're late. And Skooter is going to be doing his best to try to get the Electric Mayhem to wrap it up and get across town to this concert. Skooter has always been this sort of like backstage guy, kind of like the gopher of the Muppets. So this is a big upgrade of him, like running G-Force Records. I mean, he's got a lot to live up to, a lot of expectations on him. So I'm sure he is going to be ultra panicked, running around, freaking out, spinning around, trying to get them to move and get to the concert. We've got Kermit and Miss Piggy that look like they're going to be on video screens to the left and the right of the main sort of area. And then on that back area, on that screen, is where we're going to see the full Electric Mayhem band. Let's talk a little bit about who we're going to get to see here. Who is in the band? Who is in Electric Mayhem? It's led by Dr. Teeth. He's the leader, the front man, he's the singer, he's keyboards, he does it all. Then of course we have the wild man Animal that's playing the drums, and of course background vocals. Then there's Zoot, who plays the saxophone. Janice, who's the groovy valley girl. She's a lead guitarist and a vocalist in the band. There's Lips, who's a trumpeter in the group. Then there's Floyd Pepper. He's this like cool, very sarcastic bassist for the group and vocalist. Now it's important to know that Miss Piggy and Kermit look like they are also going to be featured, though they are not part of the band. Miss Piggy is not formally part of Electric Mayhem, but Electric Mayhem has backed up Miss Piggy when she has sung at some events. Kermit is also not part of the band, but he is often kind of referred to as maybe the band manager. So I really think this is a great change. It's going to give us like more animatronics and things. I always felt like the Rock and Roller Coaster with Aerosmith, just having that empty room and then a screen, it always felt a little off. I still loved it and thought it was great, but everything took place on like a screen, and it just felt a little bit off. I think this change, where they're now bringing animatronics in, is going to be great. So I think this is really cool that they've got a mix of animatronics and some screen things happening that are going to give us more of an immersive feel that there's this band going on here. I think that's cool. And then I'm assuming it's going to be something very similar. Your VIP in this experience is going to be very similar to Aerosmith, where it's like, I got you a really fast car and it's out in the alley. And you're going to exit this pre-show and you're going to head out into the alley to that iconic scene. I mean, when you first walk out of that pre-show and you're behind that fence and you see that limo sitting there, and then you hear that 3, 2, 1, boop, 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 and it turns green and it just takes off. I mean, every time I have seen that, there's been at least 1 or 2 people around me that have never seen that before, and they're all just like, oh my gosh. Like, I'm gonna have to get on this ride, and they start freaking out. Like, I just think it is such an iconic scene. Obviously, we're going to expect some big upgrades to that scene. I think some color changes, pattern changes, making it more Muppet-esque. Probably, again, bringing in props from the Muppet Vision 3D into that space, all the way into the loading zones area for the attraction. Upgrading it a bit there, I think, is going to be cool. So I think seeing that iconic limo still there would be really cool if it was painted psychedelic like we have in the concept art. Now, we know once you're in the attraction itself, grooving along the streets of Los Angeles, we know that a lot of the signage and things that are in there today are going to be still there, maybe upgraded, maybe changed, maybe Muppetized a little bit in some way. But what I'm really interested in is the onboard audio of the limousine. I'm really hoping for a really great upgrade there. It's old, it's been falling apart for a while. The audio's been fine, but it needs an upgrade. So I'm hoping we get an upgrade there. In addition, I'm wondering if we get some like onboard chattering that's going on there. Maybe some like Muppets talking, animal yelling while you're hearing iconic music. We know that the music you're going to experience itself will not just be sort of like standard Muppets music. It will be classic rock tracks that have been now changed into a Muppets version of that song. So I think that's great because you're going to get to like hear some great songs from maybe the 80s or 90s classic rock that is you would sing along with in the car anyway. And so having like a Muppets version of that I think is going to be great. And if you sort of weave in some like conversation or, you know, some of the chatter that might be happening with Muppets could be really cool. Maybe add some comedy elements to it. And then when you get to the end of that, I'm assuming it's going to be similar, another red carpet type experience. You're essentially getting to the concert just in time for the Muppets to get out on stage and perform. So it's going to be some sort of probably upgraded red carpet type event, Muppetized, obviously. I'm not gonna lie, like when I first heard about Muppets replacing Aerosmith, I was kind of like, really? Muppets? Like, couldn't we do something cooler? You know, maybe another band? But as I've thought about it more and more, and the more I'm hearing about what it's gonna be, I'm kind of getting excited for it. I actually think it might end up being better. I think the pre-show change with the animatronics is an upgrade, in my opinion. That's a big change. I think it's an upgrade. If they can get the onboard audio right, and some of the chatter happening there, and some of the visuals, and I think paint the car like psychedelic in some way, and with the guitar being repainted out there, I think this could be better than the Aerosmith version. I really didn't think I was ever going to say that, but I'm kind of getting excited. So I don't know, what do you think? Are you on the same page as me, or are you like, no thanks for Muppets? I'm curious. I'm kind of pumped about it. I'd like to hear what you think, what you're excited for with regards to this attraction. Can't wait to see it happen. Again, we are expecting it sometime in 2026, so it's not that far away, probably in the next, I don't know, year or so. But again, we still haven't gotten, Rock and Roller Coaster hasn't been shut down yet. So until it shuts down, there's not going to be a whole lot happening. But on the flip side, it's really an overlay, so it shouldn't take a ton of time to transition it into the new stuff. So we're still hoping 2026 at some point, maybe halfway through the year, maybe late in 2026. So anyway, that's all I've got for you. I'd love to hear your thoughts. Be sure to comment below, like, subscribe, and share. Till I see you next time, the Noble Way is the easy way. Bye-bye, everybody.